Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome to Books My Quiet Friends. My name's Sydney, and I'm here to bring you my monthly wrap-up. This month I read 9 books, 6 physical books, and 3 audiobooks. So without further ado, here's how my reading month went. So I've had some questions about how I like to do this. I like to do it in the order that I read it, and then give a star rating, and then what I recall from that book. Just because sometimes the book that's furthest away is kind of hard to remember, and the one that I mentioned last is the most easy to remember. So here we go. The first book that I finished in June was The Reader by Tracy Chee. Now this book had a bit of a slow start for me. It's about our main character who lives in a world without books, and she discovers a book, and this book kind of has a magical element to it. I found that the first, 200 pages of this book really dragged on, but by the end I was so invested in the characters and the storyline that I wanted to see more. So I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. The book I picked up after The Reader was Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan, and this is a reread for me, although I haven't read it since I was like 13, 14. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I still really enjoyed most of the story. I just found that it was a little young for me, and while I enjoyed the storyline, I thought that Percy being only, I think he's supposed to be 12? Yeah, we're gonna say he's supposed to be 12 or 13. I thought he acted so much older, so it was kind of weird for me to be reading it as a 22-year-old. After that, I picked up another newer release, and that was Queen of Hearts by Colleen Oakes. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. It's a pretty short read and a really great setup for the series to come. The next book I do believe is Blood in Wonderland, and while a lot of people criticize this book for not being as close to the original Alice in Wonderland as it's a retelling, I think it was really good. Although I'm not a huge fan of Alice in Wonderland, I have read it, but it's not quite as near and dear to my heart as some other people have it, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of okay with the interpretation that this book took. So this book was a lot of me playing catch up because I didn't have my TBR ready when I should have for the month of June. So I kind of did it halfway through the month and then had a huge swack of books to read. The next book that I read was The Slippery Slope by Lemony Snicket. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I really thought it was a poor installment in this series. I liked it okay, but it didn't really do anything for me. I think that I'm kind of getting ready to finish this series and see how the ending is. But this book just was not for me. I found myself dragging through it. It took me forever to reach it, which is something that I haven't really experienced with this book series. After that, I decided that I needed a graphic novel pickup, so I picked up Saga Volume 2, and I loved it just as much as the first one. I thought that the story was slightly less weird, but just weird enough that I was still interested. My boyfriend disagrees. He thinks that it was still really weird, which is fine. But I am going to be reading the 3rd volume this upcoming month. Last book that I finished in the month of June was The Grim Grudo by Lemony Snicket. I like this one a lot more than I liked Slippery Slope. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I think that it was far more interesting. We learned a lot more about BFD, things like that. And I'm not going to really explain why I liked it more because it is spoilers, as this is the 11th book in the series. So as you might be able to assume, there's some spoilers if I go into it, so I would recommend these for middle grade for sure. So along with all those physical books, I also got through 3 audiobooks this month. The first audiobook that I read was Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. I originally gave this 4 out of 5 stars, but looking back I would give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I just enjoyed it thoroughly. I thought it was super interesting. The mystery aspect, as well as a woman who's pretty kick-ass and independent in a society where it kind of requires women to be dependent, was amazing. I'm excited to read the next book in that series, which is Capturing Prince Dracula, I think. And that comes out in September. The next audiobook that I got to was Before I Fall by Lauren Oliver. I gave Before I Fall 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it overall. I think that it was kind of interesting. I would call it in between Mean Girls and 13 Reasons Why, like a meet up in the middle. But I would also say that it does have a lot of trigger warnings for obviously depression, for suicide, for eating disorders. A lot goes on in this book. I would recommend it for people to read just for the simple reason that it reminds you to care for those around you. You should already be doing that, but it's a good reminder to think about other people who are around you and why you treat them a certain way you do. And the last book I listened to this month was The Smell of Other People's Houses by Bonnie Sue Hitchcock. And I do believe that Sarah with an H read this and she recommended it. I could be totally lying to you. Someone far more popular than I recommended this book. And I thought, oh, it sounds like a good way to kind of get into contemporary. It takes place in 1970s Alaska and follows a whole bunch of stories that kind of run together. And while it was a very good book, it was 3.5 out of 5 stars, I would say. I wouldn't give it a full 4. It just didn't do it for me. It was short, it was sweet, it was a fun thing to listen to while I was driving, but it didn't really become anything more than that. So if you're looking for something kind of just fun and short and taking place in a different time period, which I thought was kind of interesting as there was no cell phones, I mean, right? Romance is so based on cell phones now. It's kind of ridiculous. I would definitely recommend The Smell of Other People's Houses by Bonnie Sue Hitchcock. I do have one piece of disappointing news for you guys. I am a huge advocate for myself to not DNF books. If other people do it, it's fine, but I try very hard not to DNF books. But this month, I did it. The book I have in my lap has put me in a massive reading slump. I am trying to currently reread A Court of Thorns and Roses, and even that's not pulling me out of this slump. So, I Captured the Castle by Dodie Smith is going to be donated to my local bookshop. I just could not do it. I think I made it. How far did I make it? Not far. "124 pages. And at that point, I hated all the characters. I did not care for the writing style. I found it too long and drawn out. It just was not for me. I know a lot of people love this book, and if this is your favorite book, I'm so sorry that I didn't enjoy it, but I'm happy that you can enjoy it. I will not be continuing with this book, I don't think ever. I don't want to say never ever. It's disappointing to me that I DNF'd it, but at the same time, just those 124 pages put me in such a slump. I don't want to force myself through a book that I'm not going to truly enjoy. So this book is going to disappear off the TBR. It's gone. I'm getting rid of it. It's done. I have not marked it as read. I have not given it a rating. I didn't finish it, so I don't think that's appropriate, but I read enough to know that it's not my cup of tea. Thank you guys for watching my June wrap-up, and I hope you guys had a great reading month. Tell me what you read down below. Bye!